Hey, this is John Skomski with Investing Inward. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my great friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I am super blessed, stoked, full of gratitude to bring you my good friend John Skomski from Investing Inward. He's also got a fantastic podcast that I was blessed enough to be a guest on as well, which is called Think.Live.Repeat. And John's a little bit younger than me, and I always talk, not always talk, but a lot of times I talk about, being afraid of our future with the youth that's coming up behind. But I'm a lot less afraid with my good friend John at the helm of really helping people level up their mindset and also their businesses. So if you're young, old, whatever you are, make sure you break out your digital note taker or a pad and paper and relax, because John drops solid knowledge nuggets. If you know somebody that might resonate with this, or what John is going to say might help them, please share it with them. And if you don't mind hitting a like or subscribe or all that other jazz, it really helps my sponsors and affiliates. So without further ado, here is my good friend, podcast host, and just a fantastic coach, consulting advisor, John Skomski. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I've had to reschedule with my boy here a few times, basically on my behalf. For things. And he's just been so awesome with his patience. He's a fantastic individual. It's funny, we were just off mic talking, and it's like I'm looking in the mirror at myself literally 20 years ago. It's my good friend John Skomski. He owns a financial planning practice where he specializes in the area of building sustainable distribution plans for high net worth retirees. He also has a fantastic passion project, which he is really, really leveling up. And it's called Investing Inward. And he's also, which we're going to really dive into, because there's a lot of mindset stuff, which, I'm a mindset conditioning coach. And John is somebody that I immensely respect in this field. He has a podcast, which I can't wait to rock the mic in again. I had to reschedule on, called Think, Live, Repeat. And it's aimed at humanizing the process of success and helping early stage entrepreneurs level up their business and mindsets. And I'm so blessed to have this guy on. John, please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Scott, it's awesome to be here. I'm going to go with green. And,
Okay.
not because money in green, because I loved green long before I was interested in the fields that I am. I don't know. It's just, it does something for me.
Green is like rebirth, man. It's like things can just always grow with the color green, And, luckily I'm here in South Florida, which I can't wait to get you down here to rock some stages and speak, but everything's green.
Can we do it in either January or February or March, please?
Do it. Let's do it, man. Awesome, brother. So seriously, man, thank you so much for coming on, John. And, can we get to the roots? I mean, you're a young man, but you're also seasoned. You're light years ahead of most people that are your age. But can we get you to the roots and where this passion really started to develop?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Because, a lot of times it's easy to feel like you're behind, and you look and say, oh, this person's here and this person here. And it's a game of comparison. So, but it's nice to take a moment and kind of realize where I was and where I am today. So I've been in the financial services industry close to a decade now, and I have my own financial planning practice, as you've mentioned. The passion project that you referenced, Investing Inward, was really just taking the core concepts of investing and relating them to personal development. And the more I went down that rabbit hole, the more I realized the similarities are immense. And it's just like, oh, but then there's compounding. Oh, wait, there's compounding in how we act and think and habits and direction. And there's time and there's risk. Oh, there's that with, how we approach our life and our business. So I was hit with really just kind of up the side of the head. And initially what was transpiring all this was in 2020, I kind of had a personal crisis where in the period of about a month, I thought I was going to lose my wife, my business, and my health, and quite possibly my mind. And thankfully, I lost none of those things. But that set me on this journey of realizing I was in my own bear market, if you will. I had not invested in myself in terms of how to think intentionally and react to situations appropriately. And so that began the journey that I'm still on now, but have made a lot of progress along the way. And then now have gotten to the point where I wanted to share what I've learned with others, thus the podcast, Think.Live.Repeat.
It's an
Some of
awesome
the
show.
speaking things. Thanks. Well, hey, we're going to get you on there soon.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this has been kind of just simmering for a while.
What was it when it sounds like we'll call it the quadzilla? There's 4 things: job, wife, family. What was the other one? Health.
So, yeah.
So we'll call it the quadzilla. That
I like it.
Right. So what was it, man, that pushed you through that? Because what I'm seeing and hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems like a lot of clarity came out of this crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So what was it, man, that really pulled you through?
2019 was a great year. Everything was working out. It was good to be me. Business was fine. I had just a little money at that point to start buying some toys, this, that, the other thing. Kids were healthy. Everything was great. Vacations. And then 2020 hit. Started with my wife having an anaphylactic reaction to what we believe was tainted fish, and then hospitalized a couple days later for mixed medication because of that going into.
I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
Losing your wife means could have died.
Yeah, could have died. Not like she could have. Yeah, no.
Not left you or something. No, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, left me permanently, as in died. So that was highly traumatic. Couple kids, 4 and under at that point. I'm just like, this isn't going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Wow. A week later, I was hospitalized for what I thought was a heart attack. Turns out I was under an incredibly, understandably, amount of stress between that and the market. So I had a major, first ever out of nowhere panic attack that I thought was just a heart attack.
Aren't they awesome?
Yeah, they're great. I mean, so we chatted off mic about Seinfeld, and I have this moment etched in my mind. The day after I was hospitalized, I'm sitting in the side room trying to watch episodes of Seinfeld, just trying to calm down, but I can't. My heart rate keeps going up. It's like when you're sick and you have the chills. Like I'm just kind of shaking, and I'm thinking, this sucks. Life is over. Am I losing my mind? And so, and then of course, what markets did through COVID and watching my business kind of just AUM and all that just drop, and clients freaking out. So it was a lot in a short amount of time, and it highlighted the cracks in my thinking, the fact that I had not invested in myself. I kind of just skated because life was easy.
Ooh. So you it was kind of like a cliche term, like a wake up call.
Oh, yeah.
To really start investing in yourself, and not just money, bro. I'm talking health.
Oh, yeah.
Mindset.
All of that.
What kind of exercises or protocol did you put in place to really take? I mean, it's only 3 years ago, bro. You know what I'm saying? Look,
no, it's
now,
still pretty recent. Yeah. Well, so thank you. It was, so obviously started some therapy. Initially, it was more working with a therapist, and then kind of transitioned to coaching. So a lot of it was aligning myself with people who are further along in the journey and helping me kind of isolate what mindsets it was. So for me, what I eventually learned was it wasn't like I was absolutely, it's funny, I was asked about this the other day. It wasn't like I was completely fine and then one day wasn't. It was that all of the cracks, all of the deficits in my life and my mindsets were manageable. I was able to deal with them. So there, OCD, various things would come up, and I would just deal with them. It'd be fine. And it got to the point where I just couldn't. Right. So for me, it was a lot of exposure therapy, the things that created the stress, basically between me and, my wife actually almost dying and me feeling like I was dying. I was convinced that we're all just going to die. So, at the drop of a hat, at a cold, and then COVID was there. So I was petrified of that. So I'm just constantly in a state of my own mortality, waiting to die, not wanting to go anywhere, not wanting to get in the car, not, trying to manage a business, but not see anybody. So for me, it was slow, little steps, doing things that put me a little bit past my comfort zone, and then acknowledging that I was okay, and then kind of doing the next step, and then not going down that, looking for triggers that I didn't notice, and then cutting them off early on before I spiraled into something that went dark emotionally and then ultimately had physical implications.
Yeah, man, because I've been there in my early 30s where I stood up from my desk. I laid down on the floor. I thought I was dying. It was a panic attack.
I hear you, man.
You know what I'm saying? And that's right around the time, because life gets real in your T years, your 20s and 30s, So yeah. And it sounds to me kind of, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you took kind of an inch by inch, it's a cinch approach versus by the yard it's hard, right? You're like, okay, dude, I'm going to do this. And then that clarity started coming out of the crisis. What I love about it, man, is you were taking proactive. You got your asking gear, ASK. you got it and you asked for the right people to therapy. And I love that. And was your support system there? I mean, I know your wife was kind of going through this stuff, but she's being as supportive as possible as well, right?
Oh, she was huge. So, she was honestly, as I reflected on this, I was kind of unfair. I was a little bit slow to the therapy and coaching. So it wasn't all like the next day I signed up. Like there's time in between here for the sake of the episode. Absolutely, but ultimately, she was who I ultimately, and really to this day, honestly, like relied on, but like to the point of unreasonable and unfair to her. Like in 2020, she was under such incredible stress and emotional pressure from me because I think I'm losing my mind. I am not able to be a functioning human at various points, right. Which then is it's incumbent on her to then, manage the house, raise the kids, and also support me. And then wondering, is he going to be okay? Is he actually going down this very dark rabbit hole? So I credit her with, ultimately, I think she's the number one person who like got me through this and was patient. But it also, in hindsight, wasn't really fair of me to throw that like on her all at once. It was heavy. It was heavy for her, for sure.
That burden can get to you, man. And that's just fantastic and blessings for you, man.
Yeah, I was lucky.
So, investing inward, you're really working with mindset and knowing that, that we've got to, what if we turn in, we actually start to realize what is there. Because if we turn out, we're getting opinions, and whatnot. So tell me how this launched with investing inward.
Yeah. So it really came with this idea of if I want to change my reactivity, how I react to situations, I got to change my proactivity. I have to determine my input is determining my output. And if I don't like how my output is showing up, then I got to change the input. And so I'm kind of an analytical person, probably to the point of a lot of times I wrap myself around the axle. I have a very hard time living emotionally because I feel like emotions aren't like trusted. You can't trust emotions. So I have to get super analytical. Problem with it is you go so deep, like there are some aspects of life that are just emotional, that are just supernatural, that are just kind of like energy and vibes in that. So
there's no rhyme or reason or meaning.
Exactly.
Like, no algorithm.
No. And so part of it was trial and error. But at the end of the day, I did realize, if I want to live differently, I have to think intentionally. And if I just think and let my feelings dictate how I think, I am not going to be happy with the output. I'm going to be disappointed every time. And so that's where investing inward and the mantra thinking intentionally, living differently ultimately came out. It was born out of this struggle of, okay, how do I actually level up, not just in business, but in my life? And it ultimately kind of grew into this idea of, okay, well, I'm certainly not here yet, but some of the best coaches in sports and mindsets and business, they didn't arrive either. They're like just a little bit further along in the process.
Journey, baby.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
So I said, well, I want to keynote, I want to talk, I want to spread this message to as many people as possible, but I had no proof of concept. I wasn't on social media. I had no interest in any of that. So I'm like, okay, well, that might be a little bit difficult to do. It'd be like, hey, I want to like keynote your next event. Here's my portfolio. Nothing. So I said, well, let's just start a podcast and start there and talk to incredible people, which I've done, yourself and many, many other people. Like it is mind blowing in the last 10 months who I've talked to, people I have no business talking to. Like I'm talking to, it's crazy.
Right.
And now I'm sharing not only my story, I'm learning from these people, real time. And then I'm delivering content that others can learn from as well and have been giving me feedback saying they love it. So this has been like the journey of it. And then hopefully the next phase will then be starting to transition actually on stage, but continuing the podcast because I love the medium.
Yeah, you have to.
It's awesome.
I mean, I'm speaking like the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, you're all over.
And I'm having, I drop 2 to 3 episodes a week and interview people. I started mine December 19th of 19, right? Wow. Yeah. And it was a selfish endeavor to pick people's brains like yourself, or other people and to level up my coaching and speaking game. And this whole thing, which you mentioned, COVID happened. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but then it was just like people were needing that information.
And
it just blew up. So what I'm hearing a lot here is you started taking responsibility. Okay. For everything in your life. So I want to know kind of what your definition of responsibility is.
That's a good question. Well, so part of it was realizing that nobody was going to change it and nobody could change it. And I had people try to, I mean, my wife, my parents, other acquaintances were like, here's just do these steps, do ABC, 1, 2, 3, you're golden. And sometimes I try them. If I was open-minded to it, other times I was closed-minded and just be like, forget it. But at the end of the day, I realized taking responsibility, taking ownership was, first of all, owning the problem, owning the situation, and realizing that I had to create the solution. Now it might be, and it ended up being, other people's solutions that I kind of worked into something that worked with me. Like I wasn't like sitting there like some guru, like coming up with original content. It's all already out there.
Yeah.
I just had to assimilate it in a way that worked with how I thought.
Right.
And so, and what I've seen is the times that if I just try to, if I'm lazy about it, if I'm just like, all right, here's what so-and-so say, I'll just do that. Oh, it doesn't work. Well, it worked for them. Well, because they're not you and you're not them.
Right.
And so I had to learn to take other people's insights and then assimilate them to how I think and feel and act. And that was that was like that personal responsibility moment. Like I put myself here, I own it. Now I need to own the solution. I don't have to be original. I just have to make application.
Love it.
And then also being aware of when I try to give advice and help to people, knowing that I shouldn't be like 1, 2, 3, just do what I did and it'll be fine. Because no, it's like 1, 2.3.
Yeah.
3.4, you know, it's like everyone's got their unique path. It's just the same direction, just different pathways.
You know, and that's great you say it, because I'm a coach, not a consultant. You know what I'm saying? That's like, I believe that everybody knows what they want, but they don't know how to talk themselves into it. Right. And that's where I help them. And that every problem or challenge they have that resides in them, the answer is there too. And it's in the first step is responsibility. And this is my first coach when I was 26 years old, said, listen, Fergie, the responsibility is nothing more than the ability to respond. It's rooted right in the word.
Oh, that's good.
And after everything that you freaking said, bro, that's exactly what you do. You weren't reacting to it. You were responding to it. And that's beautiful, man. So, but let's move a little bit into coaching. Are you coaching people now, or what's your story right at this moment?
Yeah. So at this moment, not outside of my practice. So I do kind of view myself as a wealth coach in the sense of the clients I work with through my financial practice. I'm certainly, like, Vanguard has done studies to show that the biggest part of it, the value that an advisor or a planner brings to the table is not financial, it's behavioral. In fact, you know, as a certified financial planner, the
taking my secret sauce, bro.
The certified financial planner board actually changed the exam to include a model of behavioral finance, because the two are inseparable. Now, I did have an early stint of coaching right out of college. I kind of pursued my bachelor's degree in a non-traditional way through, well, it was non-traditional at that time, online learning. And I had a coach who helped build out the degree and ultimately kind of walked alongside me and kind of morphed as a life coach a little bit. I was hired by that company and did that for a few years right out of college, coaching students through earning their online degrees. Then I pivoted into financial planning, where I am now. So at the moment, not in the traditional sense, but I do see that as going to be part of an offshoot.
People need it, because you've walked a journey. You know, it's funny that 80% of my coaching clients that become speaking as well are gotten to me by financial advisors. Like, I make it a point here in South Florida. I mean, I'm blessed to live in Palm Beach. Okay. You know, you got everybody's kind of Tony Robbins, Tom Brady, whatever, you know, they're all down here. But the financial advisors here, they work with their money, but not their mindset. So I sit down with financial advisors and they say, listen, man, I got a free hour of power. I'd love to talk to anybody that's struggling, that maybe they'll invest more money with you. And they're like, shit, dude, I got like 3 people for you. So that's where I really started building it, you know, was through financial advisors. And you're such in a prime condition. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man. I know you're a young man, but let's go back to the 18-year-old John Skomski. Okay. What kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on him? Not so much to change anything, because you're learning in crisis and clarity and everything is really awesome. But what might you drop on him to maybe help him shorten the learning curve maybe a little bit and blast through maybe a little quicker?
It's such a good question. So what I would probably say, and I like that you said not change anything either, because you gotta walk your journey. You gotta go through it. What I would say is less of a less of life happening to you and life happening for you. Because at that early age, it was a lot of like, well, this is what happens. So it is what it is. It's kind of like, this is what it is. So you just kind of like, whatever shows up, that's what you take. And if it was good, great. And if it wasn't, oh, that sucks. There was very little proactivity, both in thought, but even just in action. You're just kind of like, okay, I'm out of high school. Now I got to get a degree. Okay. Now I get a job. Now you get married. Like, it was just kind of like, I didn't really start thinking, I feel like, intentionally or originally till probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I had kind of taken a little bit more ownership early on and looked for ways for life to happen for me, rather than just being like on the receiving end of everything or looking for that's probably that, and abundance versus scarcity. It has taken me so long to start to have an abundance mindset. I was like scarcity. I think part of it was just the way we were raised, and it's just, man. And that has hung on for years, still does to a certain extent.
Oh yeah, but always will, bro.
Yeah.
My father, I love him, best friend in the world, my day one, right? He worked on the line at General Motors, right? And that's what he is, and that's fine. I love him. But it was like I would want at the time, don't laugh, like the Jordache jeans or whatever, and I wasn't able to get them, unfortunately, which put a chip on my shoulder. And I became a vulture. I'd prey on other people's misfortunes. And then God, who I believe in, said, no, dude, I'm going to stop you in your tracks in 09. I'm going to crash the market and you're effed up, right? So how about your dash, man? Hopefully it's way, way down the line, but how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and your death date. How does Skomski want his dash remembered?
Jeez, these are some deep questions, man.
Time to shine today, baby.
Yeah. Authenticity and empathy. I want to be known as someone who is real. I hate fake. I try not to be fake. Probably in some cases I end up being too real, saying too much, but it is what it is. Yeah. And empathy. I don't want to be, I'd rather err on the side of giving somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
And relating to them, trying to put myself in their shoes and feel what they're feeling, than just turning a cold shoulder. If people look back and say he was authentic and he was empathetic, I think I'd be happy with that.
As you get older, it all becomes into the delivery. Like right now, because these gray things, and when I come in and I speak, I get a lot of I'm in the silverback time of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're like in how you deliver things at your age versus how I can deliver them. But staying authentic and empathetic, like you said, it's key. You're killing it, dude. I'm so proud of you, man. This is actually awesome. So, Johnny, what do you think people misunderstand the most about you?
What do they misunderstand about me? Well, I think so. Going with that empathy vein here, so I try to see both sides of an issue, whether it's an argument, whether it's a political thing, whether it's a religious thing, whether it's just business related.
Yeah,
I really try to maintain a certain level of open-mindedness, thinking, okay, there's like human nature loves extremes. Like we will always go one way or the other. It's just the way we're wired.
Yeah.
But the truth usually lies, or the answer is somewhere in the middle, or maybe it's just different things to a different manifestation to different people. And so I think I at times people look at that and just think there's a wishy-washy, like, oh, John doesn't commit to anything. John does, to an idea, like, what do you believe in and stand? And I had a super conservative, like Christian upbringing. And so that, I think that kind of open-mindedness.
Me too. Baptist, baby.
Yeah. Baptist, independent, fundamental Baptist, baby, all the way. Is a little bit hard for them to understand. And maybe part of it was like a response to my upbringing, like realizing that not everything is absolutely black and white and it's either right or wrong. And obviously, they're right all the time. Yeah. And so I think there is that perception of like, oh, John, he's just kind of wishy-washy or whatever, and maybe in some cases it is, but in a lot of cases I'm like struggling in my mind thinking, how is this person feeling? What would I do? Is there a different way of looking at this? Is it situational? And I'm not talking about like fundamentals and all that sort of thing, but just kind of day-to-day life. So that might be one thing.
No, I love it, man. And basically, you said human nature loves the extremes, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a harmony. I don't believe in balance. I believe in harmony. A lot of people will say balance, but balance is zero, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's we
Yeah.
hit that when we die. Yeah, but like in harmony, even with my coaching clients, I liken it to a jazz band or another metaphor that they might understand, like a football player or something like that, where you have like, different things like God, your spiritual, personal growth, family, community, work, money. And each one of those individually is like an instrument, right? So where like your spiritual might be the guitar, the money might be the drums, the freaking living environment might be the piano, but if any one of them is out of tune, you don't have so much harmony. I'm not saying you got to be Beethoven or Eddie Van Halen or anything like that, right? But if anything's out, so we really work with myself about getting them tuned in, or like a football player might talk about linebackers and down linemen and whatnot. So I love that you're really kind of rolling that way as well. And so, John, what is your definition of a life well lived?
A strong marriage. My wife and I are best friends, and I mean, we got married young, got married in our early 20s. So I mean,
what's her name, by the way? Because
Natalie. Natalie
okay.
is awesome. So we got potential given age and health, hopefully maybe 60, 70 plus years of a life well lived. I want my kids to not just like love me, but like me, and ultimately like want to hang out. And I've seen far too many times where, kids kind of grow and they go their own ways, and there's just not that bond. So I really hope that.
I honestly don't think you're going to have an issue there, John. But
well, I know
life can go.
It's or life is early. I don't want to kid myself into thinking I've won at this early stage. But and just being known for someone who's delivered value and helped people kind of just get over something. Ultimately, if I have a platform. And I'm not going to lie, I hope it's a platform that somebody knows my name somewhere, that it's not, I don't die in obscurity, but that they can say, hey, I heard something John said, and it just got me the next step. And honestly, most of my epiphanies have been mini, and they've come as a result of a conversation like this, or a conversation off mic, or a podcast that I consumed. And it was like a puzzle piece. Like so many, it's just been steps, one puzzle piece next, and then like 5 puzzle pieces later, you're like, wow, this is a direction.
Yeah.
And
you mentioned it early in this podcast, man. It's called compounding.
If I can be someone's next puzzle piece, that's gold for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and John, you and I are going to meet up. We're going to rock stages. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to be picking your brain for like coaching clients that might be on the up, like you are, and I'm sure you've already reached out to me a couple of times. I'm happy to share what I have, and we'll meet up and we'll probably talk 15, 20 minutes about a lot of these questions. But today,
Love it.
You got 5 seconds.
Woo!
With no explanations. No explanations. And they can all be answered that way, my friend. You ready to rock?
Let's rock and roll.
Let's do it. Johnny, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Mindset. Think intentionally.
Yes. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Morning gratitude.
Gee, awesome. So if you see me kind of walking, maybe we're at an event, or maybe we're just out somewhere, and Fergie, he looks like he's in his doldrums. What book might you hand me?
Ooh, I'm going to go over the 5 seconds here. I'm going to say Simon Sinek's Start With Why.
Dude, that's nice. Good call there. Your most commonly used emoji when you text.
Laugh out loud. The laughing face.
Laughing face. Nicknames growing up?
Julius and Johnny.
I love it. Give me a hidden talent or a superpower that you have that no one knows about.
Oh, I've played piano since I was a kid. So
okay, cool. Nice, man.
It's not something I really build, but yeah.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Right. Which headline for your life?
Authentic and empathetic. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Yeah.
I love it. So go-to ice cream flavor.
Ooh, mint chocolate chip.
Love it. There's a sandwich called the Julius Johnny. Build that sandwich for me.
Okay, so it's got blue cheese. It's got buffalo chicken tenders. It's on sourdough, baby. It's got pepper jack cheese. It's got lettuce, tomato, maybe some pickles. It's fat. It's juicy with some French fries. Boom, gold.
Like
done.
A heart attack on a plate, and I would be right there just chowing down with it. Love it, love it. So, favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
Oh, so that's a good one. ATII, Anti-Human Trafficking Intelligence Agency. So I'm passionate about anti-human trafficking, and yeah.
Are you familiar with Deanna Kemple?
I'm not.
She has a label-free podcast. She actually was human trafficking. I'm going to put you in touch.
Ooh,
yeah, she's one of my. I'm actually going to her wedding tomorrow.
Oh,
so
crazy,
it's beautiful.
Bro, yeah.
That's awesome. Last question. We can elaborate on this, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s? Or at your age, 2000s?
Ooh, bro, I'm going 80s. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. Oh, I love 80s. Give me some Journey.
Really?
Oh yeah, give me some Europe. What was I just? I was going through Toto recently.
Africa. I mean, they're the originals that sang Africa.
I know the originals. Like I like the 2000s rock too, like Shine Down and others like that. But 90s, I kind of just I don't. It's 80s, and then I kind of skipped to 2000s.
80s is so transformational, meaning like the rap got introduced with Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Sugar Hill Gang, stuff like that. You had the long hair, don't care, glam rock. You had the invasions from like Duran Duran, U2, that kind of came here. And then, it's like, and the thing is, man, it's like you listen to music today, they use the hook from 80s songs. Like if you listen to anything by Pitbull, you'll hear 80s, like the frame of the song.
Yep. I got one for you. Justin Bieber's Anyone. Toto's Going Home.
Yes.
Listen to those two together. You're going to think Justin, the Biebs ripped them off.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that on the air, but you listen to it, boom. What's old is new.
Right. In 70s music, I love, because I graduated in 90s, so 80s was my jam, right? The 70s obviously goes back to memories with my parents, but 70s, they told stories in their songs.
Yes, very folksy, very story-driven.
And I enjoy that. No, we're like brothers from different mothers. I'm old enough to be your dad.
Kind of feeling like that.
Crazy. So, Johnny, how can we find your brother?
Yeah, at John Skomski on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And the Think.Live.Repeat podcast streaming on platforms everywhere.
And also you have the jskomski.com, right?
And website's jskomski.com.
Gotcha. Love it. You have to check out his podcast, squad. It's fantastic. And especially when I'm on, I'm kidding. But no, any episode on there, he's literally interviewed some big ballers that you will know. So hop over there after you're done here and leave a review for his episode. But hop over there and check out Think, Live, Repeat. And John, do me one last solid and leave me with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
So you need your skills, your skill set. The skills for success are only as strong as your weakest thought. If you really want to level up, you've got to level up the mindsets that will enable you to fully utilize your skills. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly just spinning your wheels only halfway there. The mindset is what unlocks the skill set. Go after it.
Yeah, and squad, this is light years beyond his age, man. I really heard him break down through his crisis through clarity. It is inch by inch, it's a cinch. People. And the one thing I want to tell John also, and that I got from him, is that he might be working with people he went to high school with that are just balling out and making more money. But it's more, or have better life that, monetarily, or how the world sees it. But the trajectory that John's on, it's not even going to be about the money. It's about the service he provides. He reminded us that the compounding and how we act and think really actually matters. And again, he got clarity in crisis, but during that time, he got his asking gear and asked for the right question, the right people through therapy, coaching, and that unreasonable, unfair love story that Natalie has with him, and how she really was that puzzle piece that John wants to be for others.
Yes.
To put that 100%. Up, he wants you to cut off the triggers from any anxiety that you have, or if something comes up and that this is what's happened, try to work to cut off that triggers like John was talking about. He wants you to change reactivity to proactivity. And he wants you to take responsibility. And again, responsibility is the ability to respond. He reminds us to live differently and think intentionally. Remember that less of life is happening to you and it's happening for you. And huge with me also is what he talked about, abundance over scarcity. Your creator, God, whoever you believe in, wants you to have good things. A lot of people are like, ooh, money, that's bad, but it comes from God. It comes from your creator. Get closer to that creator. Really live in that abundance. He will be remembered as someone that's authentic, and empathetic. I mean, this kid, I'm sorry, John, but you're a kid.
Okay.
You're planting
Go for
trees.
it.
You're planting trees that you're never going to sit in the shade of. You're going to be that puzzle piece that is going to carry on, and this blew me away, where human nature, he said, human nature loves extremes, but the truth usually lies in your authenticity. And that is never wrong. Life well lived to John is that strong family connection with his beautiful bride, Natalie. He delivered value on the daily, and lastly, which another knowledge nugget that blew me away, is the skills for success are only as strong as your weakest link. So where you're weak, get your ass in gear and get help with that. And that's what my friend John does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble, yet he's hungry. He's earned his varsity letter here at Time to Shine today, brother. Absolutely love your guts. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, man, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Chat soon, Johnny.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.